I'm glad that the casting algorithm that Illumination used for Sing 2016 is getting some use again. Oh, shit. Well, it's that time of year again. Time to watch some more Studio Ghibli films. I really enjoyed the other three, and to celebrate, I hired an editor. Now, you may be asking, how does a 1.5K sub channel get enough money to hire an editor? And to that I say, you see that hole over there? Yeah, that's where the last guy who asked ended up. Yeah! The editor's name is David, I guess? Why don't you introduce yourself, David?
Good morning.
Good morning to you too. Wow, you're very polite.
Mousetraps are like mathematics. 2 and 2 is 4, and a mousetrap has got to catch a mouse.
Cool. Well, David, why don't we get started?
I got a really, almost like a migraine headache.
Anyway, the films we'll be watching and talking about today is My Neighbor Totoro, KiKi's Delivery Service, and Ponyo. Aren't you excited, David?
No.
This is Studio Ghibli's fourth film, and the third one directed by Hayao Miyazaki. This film is probably the most popular one. It's the one that most people think of when they think of Studio Ghibli. So much so that Totoro is basically the company's mascot. And before you ask, yes, I promise I'll talk about some of the Ghibli films from Isao Takahata at some point as well. There's one that I'm not looking forward to because I don't want to ruin a weekend. Maybe I should just go all in and watch Grave of the Fireflies and Come and See on the same day because I feel like bawling my eyes out. Anyway, My Neighbor Totoro was actually fantastic. I really connected with every character and they all felt very genuine. The thing that I'm enjoying in these films so far is the childlike point of view that then transforms into the fantastical, if that makes any sense. These stories being told from the point of view of children is the absolute best way of telling it, because the film doesn't need to waste your time by telling you why a character is experiencing and interacting with strange and imaginative things. If Satsuki and Mei were each 35-year-old women with jobs and families, the story would have to go out of its way to tell you, okay, see, these ladies aren't zooted out of their damn mind, you're just seeing a physical manifestation of their coping mechanism because they're trying not to think of the possibility of the untimely death of their mother. But the film doesn't have to do that because they're young kids. It's not that far-fetched for a kid's mind to see a giant cat holding onto an umbrella on top of a tree playing a gourd-like horn when they feel sad, believe it or not. If you don't believe me, ask any 5-year-old what they think about all day. It's probably not far off. I really liked the slower pace of this film a lot. It didn't hesitate to just pull back and let you soak in the surroundings. There's a moment towards the beginning when Mei is up in the attic and she's looking for the soot sprites, and it just pauses on her face. There's no music, and there's next to no noise. It's almost freeing. It gives you space to think. There's no tension, there's just enjoyment of what you're watching. The backgrounds are amazing too. It almost looks like the characters are running around inside an oil painting. They do seem to run throughout the entire film too. If they aren't at their family house, they seem to be running there, or somewhere else. I swear, they seem to run the distance of 3 marathons in this film. I think I related to Kanta the most in the film. Him and I both react the same way when we see people we kind of know but aren't the closest to, which is, oh fuck, a person, hide. There are a few nightmare faces at some points between Totoro and Mei and the cat bus, but in a way I think it did kind of fit the characters. It's very easy to pick up on the fact that Totoro and the other nature spirits in this film are physical representations of the kids' coping mechanisms, like I said before. The kids are stressed out about the health of their mother, and they're dealing with it the only way they know how, and that's good old-fashioned escapism. And I'm really happy that the mom didn't die in the end. I felt like they were setting up her death the whole time, and I was really glad they didn't just absolutely crush these kids with the pains of a parent dying. Disney. It ended up being a really wholesome animated film that looks spectacular. You can't ask for much more than that. Oh, and Totoro isn't a fucking death god. Jesus Christ, the internet needs to chill the hell out sometimes. I'll do an official ranking at the end of the video with all 6 movies in order, but in short, this one is fantastic. Well, gee, David, that sure was a great film. What'd you think of it?
I'm not in love.
Oh, well, I guess they can't all be winners then, huh? There are a few things that really get under my skin when watching films, and that is characters just talking out of the blue for no reason at all. This film is far from being pulled down in quality by doing that, but it bothered me enough for me to mention it. The example that comes to mind is Osono's introduction when she needs to give back a baby's pacifier to a mother who is just out of earshot from her. This only happens a handful of times, and I understood while watching it that it was just used to move the story along, and I'm guessing that 99% of the reason that the character of Gigi exists is to have a character that would make sense for KiKi to monologue to in the moment without much explaining. One small thing, I'm not the biggest fan of Gigi's English voice. He sounds like a very whiny middle-aged man. Honestly, Gigi in the English dub just sounds like if I did the English dub for this film. I don't mean to shit on Phil Hartman, but he wouldn't be my first choice when it comes to casting a talking cat character for a witch's companion. That being said, KiKi is just an amazing character. She doesn't feel undercooked or boring, meaning she doesn't have a one-note personality that the film uses as a crutch. She's charming and has very nice and wholesome interactions with each of the supporting characters. But she also isn't just the nice girl character that some other animated movies have. She feels like an actual 13-year-old girl who, for whatever reason, has to live out on her own, because that's just the culture of witches in this universe. Kirsten Dunst actually does really good in this. She's not a bad actress by any means, but I was surprised she did so well in this film. What pushed the film over the edge for me, despite what I've said so far, is the deep message of inspiration and self-worth. Towards the end, KiKi loses her witchy powers, I guess, because she goes through what every kid goes through, which is, what am I supposed to do with my life? If what she's meant to be doing isn't working anymore, then why does she exist? That creates a vicious cycle in her mind, and it makes her even more depressed. It's a very realistic look in how all of us feel at some point in our lives. And honestly, I just feel bad for this 13-year-old girl who's experiencing it so young. Not that I'm old or anything. The issue is clearly laid out for us. Oh, and she can't understand Gigi anymore because she's not using her witch powers. The scene in Ursula's cabin is probably the best part. They talk about what drives them and keeps them going and what they love to do. It's a very comforting scene for anyone who has done anything creative ever, which is most people. Have you ever been good at something, but then all of a sudden you forget how to do it for whatever reason? It's very frustrating and demoralizing, and this explains that feeling very well, I think. It's a great film and a great story overall, and I'm glad I watched it. So, David, do you agree or disagree with my points? Do you like what I had to say about this?
What a heavy load Einstein must have had.
Oh,
fucking morons everywhere.
I guess you don't have to agree, but I'm not sure I understand what you mean by that.
If you have a golf ball size consciousness, you'll have a golf ball size understanding.
Jesus. Well, I'm not paying you for your hot takes, I guess. Shall we move on to the last one? Now, this film was confusing, but not in the plot sense, if you get my meaning. At no point was I sitting on the couch wondering, gee, is Ponyo a fish or a human? This is hard. I don't know what I'm talking about. What I mean is, I was confused about some of the choices made creatively. The animation, for the most part, looked good, but I also feel like it delved into the uncanny valley a little too often. Ponyo, especially for a good half of the film, creeped me out when she or he or they were a fish. It reminded me of that Seaman game on Sega Dreamcast.
I think things could get pretty ugly a few decades down the road. Do you think the internet is dangerous?
Then later when Ponyo grows arms and legs, it kind of got hard to look at him. Although when Ponyo becomes a full human, she is pretty adorable. And Sosuke and Ponyo are the best parts of the film when they are on screen. The third act, when they sail a little boat around the newly flooded countryside and see all the fish and plants, is actually very pretty. Some other parts that kind of made me a little frustrated was the sudden introduction of mystical powers that Ponyo and her family had. Like the healing thing I can get because she's a magical fish, but the shape-shifting and the learning Japanese super fast kind of surprised me out of nowhere. When she shouts Sosuke's name out of the bucket, it kind of scares me a little bit. It doesn't take me out of the story or anything, but it's just a little nitpick I had with it. What this film does right is capturing the childlike wonder that kids have when they get a new pet or a toy or a new friend. And this has been pretty consistent across all the Ghibli films I've seen in terms of perfectly encapsulating what it's like to be a kid. I know that when I was a kid and had a pet fish, as far as I was concerned, that fish was on an equal playing field with the other human friends and family around me. If that fish died, I was out of commission for the rest of the week. Ponyo has a bit of a shaky relationship with her parents. Her father, who is constantly trying to capture her back into his possession, is like an angry, evil scientist whom she hates. And her mother, who is a giant sea goddess who loves her very much. And wow, she can flood my town and put a spell on but she hasn't seen her in a while because she's off doing her god duties, I guess. And she has this weird prophecy where she floods the whole area because Ponyo touched a well inside of her father's boat, and now she won't restore it if Sosuke's love for Ponyo isn't true. The connection between the world being flooded and her connection with Ponyo is very confusing, and I'm not even 100% sure I explained it correctly. And this is the main issue I have with the film. Things seem to kind of be thrown in without much thought. It's very nice looking, and by no means is the film unwatchable, but it feels like there's no soul behind it. Overall, I would still say I liked the film, but I will probably not watch it again for a long time, and definitely not before watching the other 5 films. I can definitely see some things that are done well, like the animation and the voice acting in terms of the Japanese dub. For this one, I did watch it in Japanese with subtitles because the version I had it actually had them this time, and I'm too lazy to switch.
This is not weed killer. This is the purest ocean water, and it keeps me from drying out on land.
Whatever.
So if I were to rank all the Ghibli films from worst to best, okay, maybe not worst, because none of them so far have been flat out bad. So from least good to most good, I guess, it would be Ponyo, Howl's Moving Castle, KiKi's Delivery Service, My Neighbor Totoro, Spirited Away, and Princess Mononoke. My Neighbor Totoro and KiKi's Delivery Service are so close in my eyes that they could easily be swapped. Maybe I even swap them before the video comes out. The quality of all 6 of these films is pretty obvious to see. None of them seem to be lacking in any significant way. I know I made some nitpicks about 1 or 2 of them so far, but these can mostly be chalked up to personal taste. All of them have a clear direction and plan, and they all are made because someone wanted to tell a story and express themselves artistically, using the medium of animation to show truly breathtaking scenes not possible in real life, but still relate to people on a deep human level.
Luke, isn't that why all films are made? So that someone with a vision can express themselves creatively to the masses, and then maybe possibly make a living out of it so they can spend their whole lives doing what they love?
You have no idea. Well, I'm pretty happy with those films. I'm feeling pretty good. David, you did such a great job. Do you want to come back and edit more videos for me?
Get real. Never in a trillion years.
That was rude. I was just asking. What the? Oh my god. It's Hayao Miyazaki. Oh my gosh. I'm such a big fan. No, you look angry? I'm sorry for what I said about Ponyo. I was just telling the truth. Oh, Jesus.